What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Fernando Comics. You know, ever since I started looking a little deeper at what's out there on YouTube, I've been running into all sorts of interesting creator opinions. I have a particular soft spot for lists. It's the bread and butter of comic book speculation, and top 5 this, top 5 that. But one of the most fluid lists has to be the top 10 superhero list. With characters changing all the time, it's nearly impossible to have one down reliably. You have to set your expectations for it very strictly. What companies are you using? How high on the tier list are the characters allowed to be? What are you basing their position on the list on? Is it base forms? How much gear do they have? Is there prep time? Are they in character? Etc. And if you don't make these terms or items clear, you run the risk of having an extremely weak list. Too many stipulations though, and the list becomes hyper-specific and only applicable in those narrow parameters. Too loose of a list, and you open up the topic for it to go wildly off topic with what-if-isms, essentially. It's the whole reliability and validity thing in research, and you need to find that balance in order to make it a strong list. Otherwise, you might as well just be naming off characters that you know. Alternatively, you could be what-if culture and just tell the viewers to eat your colossus.
Ah, superheroes. Beings which make even the best achievements of your life look like shit. Oh, that's sweet. Your kid is walking now. Well, guess what? This guy's lifting a bus. Oh, you've got a promotion. Nice one, dude. Can you create matter out of nothing? Didn't think so. Yet time and time again, these beings of the rather top-tier variety have come to blows with each other, which does beg the question, which ones are the most powerful? Which ones are worthy of being the raddest dudes with all the toods? Well, let's find out. But a quick note before we start, though, this is based on superheroes, not the villains, okay? That's for another list. Agreed? No? Well, eat my colossus, mate, it's happening. With this in mind, I'm Jules, the all-father of What Culture Comics, and these are the 10 most powerful superheroes of all time.
I bet some of you thought I was kidding. The one stipulation to the list is no villains on a superhero list, and to eat his giant Russian medal. Man, if you disagree. It's kinda metal. Saves a lot of grief. Let's take a look at how they ordered it though.
Number 10, the Hulk. In terms of physical strength, the Hulk is easily one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel pages. Yet because of the lack of control Bruce Banner had over him in the early years, and the fact if you just wanted to end the threat of the Hulk you could just focus on killing Banner, he's not the most powerful being. Although saying that, the Hulk apparently did stop Bruce from committing suicide by spitting the bullet he'd fired into his mouth back out, yet that's not really been touched on since. The angrier he gets, the stronger he becomes, and this, coupled with the intelligence Banner holds, is a nearly deadly combo. Nearly.
Okay, so, while you can probably tell right away that the logic in these videos is going to be a little sparse, that's not the worst placement of the Hulk I've seen on a list. Despite everything he's got going for him, he does tend to get placed on the lower spots of lists, with all powers being considered for everyone else on the list. It's not a bad placement, an acceptable placement at least to start.
Number 9, the Flash. Across all of the iterations, the Flash has had some truly incredible powers to flex. Not only is he the fastest being alive, but he's able to think and act faster than the speed of light, phase through walls and other matter, and read to acquire knowledge at a hyper-extended rate. He may play the dumb-witted hero in the Justice League cartoon, but it's simply just not the case. He's not as invulnerable as some of the others on this list, but you'd have to catch him to find out what his weaknesses are.
Yeah, okay. So we're really not going to be giving much of a reason for any of these placements, are we? But the Flash for number 9 is too low. I think you'd be very hard-pressed to find 8 standard heroes above him. He's really broken when he gets the proper respect, and I don't even hype him as much as others do. But he is top 5 in my eyes.
Number 8, Superman. Super speed, super strength, the ability to fly, heat vision, chilling breath, a moral compass so ragingly pointing to good that it's sickening, Superman is a legit contender. However, what keeps him from being the big dog in the land of pedigree chumps is that some of his weaknesses come from his strengths. Besides being vulnerable to magic and kryptonite, his boner for being good means that he can be exploited by his enemies, or in some cases, his own friends. We are, of course, ignoring the Injustice Superman who went on, well, let's just say a bit of a bender after the death of Lois Lane.
Well, of course you should ignore Injustice Superman. He's an alternate reality version of him. Superman being placed at 8 is the lowest I have ever seen him on one of these lists. You're gonna find me 7 characters from Marvel and DC stronger than Superman. Good luck. Also, characters being cited for their in-comic personality seems to be a reason for the low placement on this list, meaning that these characters are being taken with their comic book faults as well. That is an interesting, kind of bold move because it does shake up the list a little bit, potentially. Superman is still too low regardless. He wins his fights by being in character. He is not a wuss. He just tries to save as much life as possible, and he cares for his family, and you have Redditors online being like, "Your compassion is your weakness, Superman."
Number 7. Jean Grey. Miss Grey is the most powerful female in the superhero world. She's almost too powerful for her own good. As one of the most gifted telepaths, Jean Grey is easily the most powerful member of the X-Men team and female in all of their universe. Her powers are only limited by her mind and is able to move objects with telekinesis. Then things get dialed up to mental, mate, when she turns into the Phoenix, a being with incredibly powerful abilities but also huge amounts of instability and agginess. She is almost indestructible in this form, but she wields that power neither wisely nor fairly in many cases. However, it's when she's Jean Grey that she showcases her biggest weakness, her compassion. It's the same as Superman and has undone her more times than she'd care to admit.
This is what I mean by stipulations being important. Are we taking external powers and making them baseline for the characters on this list? It's true that Jean Grey has a very special relationship with Thor's bait-and-switch bird mom, but that's all power outside of her regardless. If you're going to do that, Superman could get cosmic armor status. And that seems just a little unfair, but base Jean Grey would not be in the top 10, and since they mentioned lack of mental stability, I guess we have Dark Phoenix on the list now. That escalated quickly.
Number 6. Doctor Strange. As one of the most powerful sorcerers in all of the world, Doctor Strange has been called the mightiest magician in the cosmos, as well as Sorcerer Supreme and Big Steve, amongst other things. As a human, Doctor Strange has the power of a god, with his sorcery that would even be compared to Dr. Manhattan's power levels by fans. And it's easy to see why. He can use his magical gifts to do whatever he wants, such as make himself invulnerable, resurrect the dead, fly, stop and reverse time, send out energy blasts, and can even teleport. His abilities are only limited by his imagination, but he does have one weakness. At the end of the day, he's still human. As has been shown many times, the man who can literally move planets has been conked out by a few punches.
I actually don't think anyone has ever strung the thoughts together of, whoa, Doctor Strange uses magic, just like Dr. Manhattan. Is it because they both have Doctor in their name? Oddly enough though, the number 6 spot is typically where I see Doctor Strange being placed on these lists. Somewhere mid-list, I should say. It's not the worst placement, at least specifically related to the number he was placed at, not for any of the information provided really.
Number 5. Nova. Richard Rider, or Nova, is the leader of an intergalactic police force. Given his powers as a teenager, Nova has learned to hone them over time. The powers in question are a vast source of energy that allows him to fly, gives him quite the wallop, and can take a punch, yet the best thing is that he can absorb energy and then fire it back out as deadly blasts. He is a force to be reckoned with for sure, and his enemies across the galaxy fear his name. However, because he's a policeman by nature, it does mean that he can be exploited. Some of his foes know what he can and can't do outside of the law, and this has led to his downfall on several occasions.
Well, set aside that I saw 2 different characters using the same name on screen and that Nova shouldn't even be on the list, the reason he's not higher is because Nova has the legal limitations of a cop? Does that change depending on the country or planet he's fighting on? Could I get away from Nova if I went inside my house and told him to come back with a warrant? Could I record him and sue him if he didn't read my rights before arresting me? Does this fight take place in his jurisdiction as a Nova Corps member? Is Dragon Ball Daima any good? Do you think there's a 50-50 chance that What Culture Comics never read a Nova comic?
Number 4. Thor. I mean, he's a god, of course he's going to be on the list. When his only weaknesses are the fact that he can be a little bit spur of the moment and vulnerable to extremely high levels of magic, you're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody to best the Thunder Lad. His incredible strength and durability is coupled by his ability to summon lightning, and Mjolnir is a fantastically powerful weapon in its own right, which is why it sucks so much in the current comics as he's unworthy enough to use it. But if you do want to get the best of him, then my advice would be to just be Loki, as he seems to trick Thor time and time time again, highlighting that brawn without very much brain verily maketh you a fool of ill learning.
Well, to be fair, being a god doesn't automatically make you enter the top 10 list, unless you think like Marvel Ares should be on here too. Also, being tricked by the god of tricks essentially does not equal being dumb Hammerman. Especially when that particular god of mischief is your brother who you hold a soft spot for. Place your bets on whether or not this gentleman has ever read a Thor comic either. As far as the placement goes, it's too low. Thor is top 3, no discussion.
Martian Manhunter. John Jones, which sounds like the most Welsh name ever, is a rather sneakily powerful being. He's the most understated member of the Justice League, but his skills are nearly endless, being able to read minds, shapeshift, fly, and possesses superhuman strength, invulnerability, and X-ray vision. Plus, he can turn invisible for good measure. I tell ya, it's enough to make you not even want to rob that bank, no matter how tempting and how good a getaway driver Ben is. No, it's not worth it. I don't want to have my face punched inside out. That said, he does have one weakness, which appears to be fire. Yet, in the Trial by Fire arc, it seems like he was able to overcome this to some extent. So who really knows how much this would be a factor?
You know, Martian Manhunter does have another weakness though. It's fists, and punching, and kicking. If you're giving John his in-character personality, he's too high on this list. He should be this level, but he's never proved it in the version I see on screen. He is a jobber, sucks to say. He gets beaten up quite a bit and disregarded the rest of the time. If they're using Furnace, which I didn't see but they might have alluded to, he's not a hero and he doesn't belong on the list.
Number 2, Dr. Manhattan. When even a film that stars this character barely scratches the surface of their powers, you know you're in the presence of an almighty being. Dr. Manhattan, aka the Big Blue Bellend, is seemingly invincible and immortal. He can alter the size of his body, use telekinesis, and control atomic particles, allowing him to teleport and manufacture items out of thin air. Worryingly, this ability to create also means he's equally proficient in destruction, and is shown tearing people down to base elements, which doesn't sound too nice, does it? His weaknesses are few, yet he does have them. Tachyons, which are particles that move faster than light, can slow down his abilities and even confuse him. Yet his biggest weakness is his apathy. He just doesn't have much interest in saving the world as he's so far removed from humanity. It's just a stroke of luck that he's equally nonplussed about destroying things. Which is a good thing, I guess?
I mean, yeah, that probably is a good thing, man. You know, if the godlike creature doesn't want to destroy everything, I think weighing the list of pros and cons, that would be a good thing. I don't know what's going on with this list, though, more importantly. This came out right before Doomsday Clock, so I see no reason at all for Dr. Manhattan being placed on the list with what he had to show at the time. And if you take him after Doomsday Clock, he still has no business being on a list with Nova. He's also not really a hero, I'd say. Like, are we putting Living Tribunal on this list too because he sometimes does the right thing? I'm gonna redo this list after the video is over.
And number 1, the Silver Surfer. Right, I know what you're thinking. Some shiny Burke on a board, how is this one of the most powerful beings in the comic universe? Well, I'll tell you for why. As the Herald of Galactus, he searched the universe for planets to satiate his master's hunger. However, after switching sides, he became Galactus's biggest rival. And when you're going up against a guy who legit eats planets, then you've got to have some serious firepower at your disposal. The Silver Surfer's body is made out of an indestructible metallic substance. He can travel at hyper speeds thanks to his board, can project energy and absorb power from the universe itself in order to increase his strength and durability. He can also see through time, perceive matters on a base level, and can phase through surfaces and cast illusions. He can pretty much do everything you'd need in a pinch. And when you consider that his only weakness seems to be that when his board is damaged he loses some of his maneuverability, this is one piece of chrome you don't want mashing on your dome.
Okay, whoever came up with "this is one piece of chrome you don't want mashing on your dome," I want you to find me a piece of chrome that you do want mashing on your dome. Also, this entire list has been, well, they're really strong, but too bad they're stupid and their personality sucks. That particular thought process applies way harder to Silver Surfer. He's badly held back by his own pacifism and tendency to hold back. He is not number 1, even though he does belong on the list. Here, let's redo this really quick. 1, we're removing Dr. Manhattan and Dark Phoenix because they are neither heroes nor appropriate to include in a list of this nature. Also, we're removing Nova because why would he even be on the list in the first place? No gear besides standard gear, so Thor keeps Mjolnir. Base forms that are limited to hero personalities, so the Sentry, who I'm including in this list by the way, stays in his golden hero form, no void. And they are all limited by their comic book personalities, as the list intended. Okay, boom, let's go. Number 10, we're gonna put the Hulk. There was some debate in this because you could switch 10 out for a couple people. Like, I was considering even Wonder Woman. But with the stipulations of the list, I think the Hulk would edge her out. So we're going to keep him in 10 for now. That was one right answer that they did have. Number 9, we're going to do Green Lantern, specifically Hal Jordan. Number 8, we're going to do Doctor Strange. Number 7, we're doing Shazam. Number 6, we're actually going to do Martian Manhunter. You're welcome, John. Number 5, the Sentry, specifically in his golden form, which is plenty, believe me. Number 4, we're going to do the Flash. We'll say Barry Allen. Number 3, we're going to do Silver Surfer. He is a big deal, guys. As much as I don't want to say rage on him, but as much as I downplay him compared to what this video thinks of him, he is a big deal. That is a uniquely powerful character. Number 2 is Superman, because I will not put my boy Thor underneath Superman, who is number 1. All right, you guys tell me what you think of that very quick list with my obvious bias, and tell me if you think it's closer, way off, etc. But that list is taking into account their personalities at base levels with no power-ups possible. You can switch some out as you find fit, but I think it's closer than whatever we witnessed prior. Man, that seems like so much effort to put into a list. What did What Culture say?
Greed? No? Well, eat my Colossus, mate, it's happening. With this in mind...
Alright, we'll make a real list later on, everyone, and I'll give some actual reasons for it. That was an extremely brief overview. For now, though, thank you so much for watching, everyone. It is always a pleasure. This was your friend, Fernando Comics, and I will see you in the comments so we can talk some more, and I will see you all in the next one.